The password manager LastPass was hacked. Again. The consequences of this breach are far worse than most experts want to admit. The fallout from this affects much more than just LastPass users, and I'm going to tell you the actions that you need to take right now. Please make sure that your seatbelts are securely fastened and that your carry-on items are properly stowed, as the Redacted Hacker episode 000 is about to begin. I'm Brenton House, and you're watching The Redacted Hacker. Data breaches happen every day, so why is this latest from LastPass so bad? Like many organizations, LastPass has had their fair share of hacks and breaches. This one is very different than the previous ones and might affect you even if you or your organization are not a LastPass customer. Here are the highlights from the recent breach. In August of 2022, LastPass reported that they detected, quote, some unusual activity within portions of the LastPass development environment, unquote. They assured everyone that this incident did not involve any access to customer data or encrypted vaults. What was accessed was portions of their source code and some proprietary LastPass technical information. Now, if you're in the development world at all, you know that this can be pretty bad. Getting access to the source code means that sooner or later, they will probably use this to launch an attack. Sure enough, a few months later, in November of 2022, LogMeIn, the parent company of LastPass, announced that they detected, quote, unusual activity within a third-party cloud storage service used by LastPass and GoTo, unquote. Let's go deeper now to get a better understanding of the severity of these incidents. First, I'll give you a quick look at the history of LastPass and the security issues, and then I'll walk you through the steps that you need to take today. LastPass was founded in 2008 as a password management company. In 2010, LastPass acquired Xmarks, which gave LastPass the ability to synchronize passwords between browsers. In 2015, LastPass was acquired by LogMeIn, which is known for their products like GoToMeeting. In 2017, LastPass doubled the price of their premium version while also removing some of their features. In 2021, LastPass shook the user community by announcing that they were getting rid of their free tier of accounts. LastPass announced that the free LastPass product will no longer function on both desktop and mobile, thus removing this product as a viable tool for most users and creating a lot of animosity in the LastPass community. Also in 2021, LogMeIn announced that LastPass would be established as an independent company. However, I have not seen anything official to confirm that this has actually happened. LastPass has suffered many security incidents over the year. There were incidents in 2011, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2019, 2020, 2021, and of course, 2022. In their 14-year run, LastPass went from being one of the most popular password managers ever to a company that has left its user community feeling abandoned and vulnerable. Let's jump right to the security incidents in 2022, as that's where our story really takes a turn for the worse. There were 4 security incidents that were disclosed by LastPass in 2022. On August 25th of 2022, LastPass revealed that an unauthorized party gained access to parts of the development environment at LastPass through an individual compromised developer account. According to LastPass, the unauthorized party took some source code and proprietary technical information. On September 15th of 2022, they disclosed that the unauthorized party was in the development environment for 4 days. At the time, LastPass claimed the incident did not involve any access to customer data or encrypted password vaults. Now, on November 30th of 2022, LastPass revealed that, quote, unusual activity, unquote, within a third-party cloud storage service was detected. Previously gained knowledge facilitated this incident. The unauthorized party gained access to certain elements of customer information on storage service used by both LastPass and GoTo. On December 22nd of 2022, LastPass disclosed the threat actor obtained customer information such as names, billing addresses, email addresses, telephone numbers, and their encrypted vaults. LastPass claimed the encrypted data is strongly encrypted and requires that a customer's master password be decrypted first. Along with the password vaults, some unencrypted data was also stolen and included company names, end user names, billing addresses, email addresses, telephone numbers, and IP addresses that customers use to access LastPass. Another fact security researchers discovered is that not all the information in a customer's password vault is actually encrypted. Some information was never encrypted, such as website URLs, which often contain other personal information due to the way that LastPass captures and stores the URL upon adding a site. Due to the severity of this breach, the case has gotten a lot of attention and has revealed even more facts about the case. One item noticed new password requirements implemented by LastPass back in 2018 were never retroactively applied to older accounts, thus leaving many accounts potentially vulnerable. Also, this breach occurred on a server shared by both LastPass and GoTo, which lends itself to the assumption that the two companies might not be as separate as previously reported. Many users are reporting that their password iteration settings were never updated to the default 100,100 iterations, which, by the way, is far lower than the default should have been set to by LastPass. In fact, the encryption iteration count for some users was set to a very low number. Some people are reporting that their iteration count was actually set to 1. That's right, 1. Incredibly, this was actually the default setting for years at LastPass. Now, here's the really bad news that few people want to talk about. Every site and password that you stored in LastPass will eventually be made available to every hacker, threat actor, researcher, or stalker via the darknet. For most, it's a matter of when and not if. The reason for this is they now have a copy of your actual password vault. They can work on cracking it offline and on their own timeline. Although it is encrypted, technology is always progressing exponentially. Based on the default encryption iterations used by LastPass, a targeted attack on your vault will lead to your passwords eventually being revealed. In fact, the unencrypted data that was stolen, such as customer names, addresses, IP addresses, and the URL for every single site that you stored a password for, will probably be surfacing very soon, as this data does not even require decrypting. The ramifications from this are far-reaching. Let's look at why this is true. A LastPass master password, or the password that's used to secure your vault, is, due to the nature of the requirement, a password that you can remember. While the password stored inside the LastPass vault can be auto-generated random passwords, the master password must be typed in by LastPass users every time their vault needs to be unlocked. This means that for most users, their LastPass master password will not be super secure. Unfortunately, password reuse can also affect LastPass master passwords. For some users, their LastPass master password might be a password that they've used before and exists on the darknet as part of an unrelated data breach. For others, their LastPass master password might be a variation of a previously used password, which makes them almost just as vulnerable. There is another group of people that are affected by this security incident, and it's not LastPass users. It's every organization that has resources that are secured without multi-factor authentication. You see, once these password vaults start being decrypted, there's going to be password information that could possibly have dangerous implications for your organization. Say there's a LastPass user, and we'll call him Bob. Now, Bob had a lot of passwords stored on his password vault. One of those passwords was a password to your site. Not only that, but Bob just happens to be an administrator on your site. Are you starting to see the bigger picture now? Not only do you have to worry about people like Bob here, but you have potential employees, partners, clients, suppliers, affiliates, and more that could have passwords or API keys stored in LastPass. Organizations that publish APIs could be impacted by this LastPass breach, as API accounts are often not secured using multi-factor authentication. Now, if your APIs are not securely managed by a solid API gateway, make this a priority today. Now, you may think that you're safe because your LastPass account was secured with one of the two-factor authentication or 2FA methods available to LastPass users. You would be wrong. Turns out that 2FA doesn't do anything to protect your LastPass passwords or vault in this case. LastPass did not use 2FA as part of the encryption of customers' data or their password vaults. LastPass simply uses 2FA to protect access to the live vault in the cloud. But because the threat actors gain access to the customer's vaults directly, 2FA did absolutely nothing to protect users' data. As you can see, the fallout from this affects a much broader group than just LastPass users, and everyone needs to be vigilant to take necessary actions. If you look, you will find multiple articles going back many years where people warned LastPass that their practices of storing unsecured data and that their weak password and encryption policies were dangerous. These were mostly unheeded by LastPass, and now the unthinkable has unfortunately happened. I can guarantee that there will be many updates as the story unfolds, but in my opinion, this is the beginning of the end for LastPass. It's not that a data breach is the end for an organization. Organizations can survive a data breach. It happens. But to quote Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibility. If you are the guardian of secrets for millions, you can't afford to disregard best practices and to put people at risk of potentially devastating financial losses and the possibility of exposing them to the threat of physical harm. We haven't even touched on special groups like victims or witnesses who might be living in hiding due to the threat of violence. The fact that LastPass did not encrypt all its data is truly shocking. As of this episode, the lawsuits have just begun, and I imagine they will grow once the true nature of the damage is fully understood. If you are a LastPass user or were LastPass customers in 2022, here's what you need to do right now. First, change your master password. This won't help secure your 2022 passwords, but should help with regards to online access to your live password vault. As difficult and time-consuming as what I'm about to say sounds, you probably need to change the passwords for every account that was stored in your LastPass vault. Now, I know for a lot of people, this is hundreds or thousands of passwords. Really can't say how much time you have to do this, as that depends on your master password and the amount of effort spent trying to get your data. There are two groups of people that are going to be hit first. The first group is if you're a highly desired target for hackers. Now, people in this group might be celebrities, executives, or even developers. Remember, LastPass was hacked using a developer's account. Also in this group are those who have passwords that were stored for crypto wallets, banks without 2FA, APIs, or organizations that have something valuable for hackers. Remember, because LastPass did not encrypt the URLs, hackers already know what accounts you have and what you might have that might be of value to them. Now, the second group that will be hit in the first wave will be the low-hanging fruit. That is those whose encryption iteration count was set very low. Now, I'm sorry to say this, but if you're in this group, your passwords will be decrypted very soon, if they're not decrypted already. If you are going to go through and start changing all your passwords, start with your financial institutions and any cryptocurrency accounts, as access to these accounts can do a lot of damage. Oddly enough, from what I've seen, financial institutions have some of the worst password policies, and almost none of them use true multi-factor authentication to protect customers' accounts. Next, focus on those accounts you might have clicked Save My Credit Card Info with. Even if these sites followed best practices and did not store your actual credit card number, a threat actor could still use access to these accounts to make unwanted purchases on your account. Next, scan through your accounts and start to loosely group them based on the risk associated with someone getting access to the data in this account. Those accounts in the list that are secured with multi-factor authentication will probably be a lower risk. That is, of course, unless the LastPass breach also included access to data from your LastPass authentication account that stores your 2FA info. If you have a LastPass account, I also recommend that you do the following. If you're technically inclined, go get your password vault using the method I describe in the show notes. Next, decode the URLs to examine what will soon be visible to everyone and see if there are any security risks in these fields. As crazy as it sounds, decoding a LastPass vault is very simple. While I could have written the code to do this very easily, I simply asked ChatGPT to generate an application to decode the URLs in the LastPass vault, and it did so flawlessly. Now, no matter if you're a technical user or not, if you have a LastPass account, you should log into your account and change the encryption iteration count to some value that is higher than 500,000. And last but not least, you may want to follow the many others who are leaving LastPass forever. You can go into your LastPass vault and export your passwords as a CSV file and can then import them into a more secure password manager. Make sure you securely delete your CSV file after you completed this task. Personally, I recommend BitWarden. Now, I'm not paid anything to say this, so this only comes from my experience as a customer and the research I've done into the company. If you're not familiar with BitWarden, it's an open source password manager that has many of the same features as LastPass, but for free. Now, they also have a paid version for a ridiculously low price of $10 per year. That's not per month, per year. I highly recommend getting this account as it allows you to use a hardware-based token multi-factor authentication device such as YubiKey to secure your account. I wish this story had a happier ending. I know this news is not what most people wanted to hear, but everyone, including myself, can grow from this experience and the lessons learned. Take a look at the show notes for more info, code, and the links to this developing story, along with the resources you can use to make yourself more secure. Subscribe to the Redacted Hacker to learn more about the cybersecurity stories behind today's headlines. My name is Brenton House. I was never here, and we never had this conversation.